Absolutely. Let's break down this fascinating encounter between GutovAndrey, white, yellow 2214, and Samuel 99, black, yellow 1521, on chess.com. This game, played on March 13th, 2025, was a 15-minute rapid game with a 10-second increment, ultimately won by white through checkmate. Opening phase, 1, d4, 7, b7 solid foundations. The game begins with a standard Queen's Gambit decline, 1, d4, d5, 2, c4, e6, a classical and reliable opening choice. Black opts for the semi-terrorist defense, 3, nc3, c6, aiming for a solid pawn structure in the center. White continues with a calm, developing move, 4, e3, supporting the d4 pawn and preparing to develop the light-squared bishop. Black mirrors white's development with 4, nf6 and 5, nbd7, bringing knights to active squares. White 6, bd3 develops the bishop to a useful diagonal, controlling important central squares. Black deviates slightly from the most common lines with 6, dxc4. While capturing the pawn can relieve some central tension, it also surrenders the center to white. White correctly recaptures with 7, bxc4, developing another piece and regaining the pawn. Black then plays 7, b7, a natural developing move, preparing for castling. Middle game emerges, 8, e4, 17, ba6 tactical skirmishes. White seizes the initiative with 8, e4, striking in the center and opening lines to their pieces. Black responds with 8, b5, a somewhat ambitious move aiming to challenge white on the queen side. However, it can leave the black king side a bit vulnerable. White retreats the bishop to d3, 9, bd3, maintaining control of the important e4 square. Black's 9, qa5 puts immediate pressure on white's c3 knight and potentially eyes the a2 pawn. White castles safely with 10. Oh, consolidating the king's position. Black follows suit with 10. Oh, the central tension escalates with 11. e5, a pawn push from white aiming to restrict black's knight on f6 and gain space. Black reacts with 11. nd5, a logical move to challenge white's central pawn and potentially exchange a piece. White trades knights with 12. nxd5, simplifying the position slightly. Black recaptures with 12. cxd5, maintaining a central pawn. White's 13. No 1 is a slightly unusual move, perhaps aiming to reroute the knight to a more active square later, possibly f3 or c2. Black continues developing with 13. qb6, keeping an eye on white's b2 pawn and maintaining pressure along the b file. White develops the bishop to e3, 14. b3, further solidifying the center and potentially preparing for tactical operations. Black's 14. a5 is a positional move, aiming to challenge white's control of the queen side and potentially create weaknesses in white's pawn structure. White responds aggressively with 15. qg4, bringing the queen into the attack and putting pressure on black's f7 pawn. Black tries to defend with 15. f5, but this weakens the e6 square and can create targets. White immediately exploits this with 16. x6, opening the f-file and creating a passed pawn. Black recaptures with 16. nxf6. White continues the attack with 17. qh4, putting direct pressure on the f6 knight and the h7 pawn. Black 17. ba6 is a surprising move. While it develops the bishop, it also removes a defender from the king side and seems to concede some initiative to white. The decisive attack, 18. nf3, 29. qb8 white's initiative pays off. White brings the knight to a more active square with 18. nf3, increasing the pressure on f6. Black tries to create counterplay on the queen side with 18. b4, but this feels a bit slow given the threats on the king side. White correctly exchanges the bishop for the pawn with 19. Bexa 6, opening the a-file. Black recaptures with 19. Xa 6. White then brings the rook to the open c-file with 20. Rack 1, increasing the pressure on black's queen side and potentially preparing to transfer it to the king side. Black mirrors this with 20, RFC8. White repositions the queen with 21. QH3, likely aiming to bring it to the G4 square for a more direct attack. Black responds with 21. RC4, a tactical attempt to create complications and potentially exchange a rook. White's 22. BG5 is a strong move, pinning the F6 knight and further restricting black's pieces. Black continues to try for queenside counterplay with 22. A4, but the focus is clearly shifting to black's vulnerable king. White brings the other rook to the E file with 23. RC1, increasing the attacking potential. Black plays 23. Rack 8, perhaps hoping to exchange rooks and relieve some pressure. The critical moment arrives with 24. Rec 6. This is a powerful exchange sacrifice, opening the E file for white's queen and creating a direct threat to the black king. Black is forced to accept the sacrifice with 24. QB7, trying to defend. White brings the other rook to the E file with 25. ERF1, doubling rooks on the open file and increasing the pressure dramatically. Black plays 25. BF8, a desperate attempt to defend the H7 square. White eliminates the defender with 26. BXF6, a crucial exchange that opens the G file for the queen. Black recaptures with 26. GXF6. White follows up immediately with 27. RXF6, bringing the rook to the G file and creating a direct threat of QG6+. Black plays 27. BG7, trying to block the check. White delivers a check with 28. QE6+, forcing the black king to H8, 28, KH8. White continues a relentless attack with 29. RF7, creating a double attack on the queen and the H7 pawn. Black tries to defend with 29. QB8. The final blow, 30. G3, 54. Q3A6 hashtag checkmate. White plays 30. G3, a prophylactic move to prevent any potential back rank surprises. Black tries to create some activity with 30. R4C6. White responds by capturing the dangerous D5 pawn with 31. QXD5. Black tries to counterattack with 31. RF6, but white exchanges rooks with 32. RXF6, BXF6. White brings the knight to a strong attacking square with 33. N5, attacking the bishop. Black exchanges bishops with 33. B's 5. White recaptures with 34. Rex 5. Black tries to bring the rook to the defense with 34. RD8. White's queen becomes very active with 35. QC6, putting pressure on the D8 rook and the B7 pawn. Black plays 35. RF8. White continues the attack with 36. Re7, threatening checkmate on G7. Black defends with 36. QD8. White repositions the queen with 37. QE4, maintaining the threat. Black tries to create some counterplay with 37. RF5. White delivers a check with 38. Re8+, forcing the exchange of queens after 38. Xc8, 39. Xc8+. The endgame is now clearly in white's favor due to the extra pawn and more active king. Black moves the king to G7, 39. KG7. White continues to probe with 40. QE6, RF6, 41. QE5, KF7. White advances the D pawn with 42. D5, creating a dangerous pass pawn. Black tries to block it with 42. B3. White captures with 43. Ax3, Ax3. White pushes a pawn further with 44. D6, Re6. White uses a queen to create a mating net with 45. QF5 plus RF6, 46. QXH7 plus Q6, 47. QE7 plus KF5. The passed D pawn is now unstoppable, and white promotes it to a queen with 48. D7 Re6, 49. QH7 plus Q5, 50. D8 equals Q. Black tries to resist with 50. RD6, but white's two queens are overwhelming. White forces checkmate with 51. F4 plus KD5, 52. QD3 plus KC6, 53. Q8XD6 plus KB754. Q3A6 hashtag. Overall impressions. This was a well-played game by GutovAndrey. After a solid opening, White seized the initiative in the middle game with the aggressive pawn push-8. E4. The exchange sacrifice on E6 was a key moment. Opening lines were a decisive attack on Black's king. While Samuel99 tried to create counterplay, Black's king side became too vulnerable. White's precise attacking moves and the unstoppable passed pawn in the endgame led to a clear victory by checkmate. The yellow difference of over 600 points is evident in the strategic and tactical understanding displayed by White. A good example of how exploiting weaknesses and maintaining the initiative can lead to a successful attack.